Let's now understand data source changes. In Snowflake, managing data source changes typically involve CDC, schema evolution, and time travel. These features allow you to track, automate, and recover from modifications in your data sources. First is tracking CDC. Snowflake provides native objects to track row-level changes, either inserts, updates, deletes in tables, and views using streams. A stream object records DML changes made to a source table. It provides a change table showing what changed between 2 points in time, what can then be consumed by task or Snowflake. This we had already seen our streams and task tutorial. If you had not watched that, please do watch that before jumping into data source changes. Next one is changes clause. This SQL clause allows you to query change tracking metadata for a specified time travel without needing an explicit stream object. And third is dynamic tables. These tables automatically refresh based on the defined query. They simplify CDC by managing the refresh schedule and incrementally updating data as source objects keep on changes. Next one is handling schema changes. When the structure of your data source change, example, new columns are added, Snowflake can adapt automatically. All you need to do is you need to just enable the schema evolution. Tables can be configured to automatically add new columns or drop not null constraints when new data files containing additional fields are loaded via Snowpipe or copy into command. And for semi-structured data, the variant data type allows you to store and query JSON, Avro, Parquet data without predefined schemas, making it resilient to frequent source structure changes. Third one is recovering from changes. If a change needs to be reverted or historical data needs to be audited, Snowflake uses time travel, and this is also we had covered how you can restore your data at a specific timestamp using time travel. And second is fail safe. This is a non-configurable 7-day period where you request Snowflake support to retrieve your data, and they charge you based on the data size. Fourth one is database change management. For managing DDL changes like table creation or alterations across the environments, DCM projects come into picture. It is a native Snowflake object used to deploy and manage database objects defined in SQL or YAML files, often integrated with Git for version control. Second is schema change, a popular open source tool for automating Snowflake migrations and managing database schema changes in the DevOps pipeline. Let's now discuss about data unloading. As we already know how data loading works, data unloading also works in a very similar way. Data unloading in Snowflake is the process of exporting data from database tables into flat files such as CSVs, JSON, or Parquet, and store them in an external or internal stage based on your requirement. Let's see this in action. I will go back to my Snowflake instance, and here, first thing, I am going to create a stage. Okay, I had already written all the scripts. So the stage which I am going to create is inside my bucket. I had created a new folder, unloads. Okay, and this is where I will be loading my CSV file, and then I will copy into, and I will mention my target file name, and then I will mention my table from where I need to create this file. Then I need to mention the file formats and override property if it is true, or you need to create multiple files. And once you hit the copy into command, you will able to see that there are 3 rows unloaded and the total bytes loaded are 75. So if I go into my S3 bucket and if I refresh my instance, I am able to see the unloads folder, and if I go inside, I can see final test folder, and there I can see my user report.csv. Let me download that. Perfect. So now if I open this one, I can clearly see that I am having the 3 records from my table. This is how data unloading works. Now, next topic is change data capture. Change data capture refers to the process of tracking all the changes in data sources such as databases and data warehouses so they can be captured in the destination systems. Before CDC, we used bulk loading. This means every night, let's say at 2 a.m. or based on the schedule, the system would grab everything from the source database, millions of rows, and dump it into your data warehouse. The problem is it is very slow, it's heavy, and if you have billions of rows but only hundreds changed, you are wasting 99% of energy moving data you already have in your target data warehouse. Here comes the CDC to help. It's like a security camera that only records when something moves. Instead of scanning the whole table, CDC watches the database logs. Every time a row is either inserted or updated or deleted, the database makes a tiny note in its logbook. This is the logbook. It will make the note here that what's happened in our source, and then CDC will read this notebook in real time and say, hey, this customer just changed his address. Okay, so it will send only the update to the data warehouse instead of sending all the data right now. Okay, usually TDC detects changes in data using three methods. Those are timestamp based, trigger based, and log based. Let's talk about all these three one by one. First is timestamp based. It captures the most recent changes by using columns such as last modified or last updated. Any downstream applications or systems can query these kind of audit fields and get the record that have been updated since the last execution time. Let's see this with an example. This is my source table and it is newly created with two records, and now I had defined my target table which is empty, and as this source data will be flowing first time into my target table, I had stored my timestamp as 1900, which is way back than my last modified time here. So what will happen when I will go with the timestamp based CDC, it for the first time it will see that the stored date is always less than these dates. These dates are eligible for processing into our target table. So it will process these two records into my target data warehouse successfully. Okay. The second scenario is now next day in the source table, the new record came. Okay. And now what will happen on the second day, it won't start from this 1900 to look into last modified and process it. It will store the latest date from the previous run, which is this one. So it stores that date, and this time it will trigger from this date onwards. So second run or next time run, it will trigger from this dates onward, which eventually will only populate single record in my data warehouse instead of populating all the three records. There are pros and cons for every process, and same for time based as well. We have couple of pros and cons for this approach. The first pro is it is simple to use and implement, as we are just storing the date and based on that date we are extracting the data, and it provides a straightforward way to track changes over time, as you had just seen this, right? The biggest con is it can only process soft delete, not the delete operation. Suppose you had deleted something here completely. Okay, it won't be tracking that, right? There is no way that it will track because you are only storing the date. You are not storing the complete record. Okay. It adds the computational overhead to the source system because the target system have to scan each row in the table to identify the last updated value. Okay, and it requires changes to the existing database schema sometimes. Next one is trigger based. The most database uses trigger functions. These are store procedures that are automatically executed once a specific event such as insert, update, or delete a record occurs on your table. One trigger for each operation per table is needed to capture any kind of data changes. These changes are stored in a separate table, commonly referred as a shadow table, as you can see here. So this is the shadow table where we are only tracking the changes. Additionally, developer can include messaging systems so that these data changes can be published to the queues where relevant targets subscribe to them. If you see this diagram, in my source system, these three operations happened. For customer 101, the new record came. So the operation in my shadow table go on insert, and I deleted the customer 127 from my actual source table. Due to that, it is showing that 127 got deleted, and I updated the address for customer 142 in my source table, and it is showing that customer 142 is updated. So this is my shadow table. Now I will use the shadow table to populate data into my final target table. Okay, so I will see the operation is deleted, I will delete the record. I will see the new record is inserted, I will insert it, and if there is any update like email or phone number, I will update it. This is how the trigger based CDC works. Okay, obviously here also we have couple of pros and cons, and the pros here is that we can detect and capture all the type of changes to the records, and the triggers are widely used and are supported by majority of the databases, and it enables real time data capture without pulling anything out. Okay, and the cons are it negatively impacts your source database performance since updating records require multiple writes into your shadow table. It requires changes to be to the source database schema, and it can become complex to manage with a large number of triggers, right? Suppose you are having tons of trigger, it will be complex for your system to manage all these triggers, right? Third one is log based. Transactional databases log all the changes like inserts, updates, and deletes committed against the database and their corresponding timestamps into files called transaction logs. This is the difference. Okay, here we are maintaining the transactional logs to store all these information instead of storing in a table earlier in the trigger based, which we did. Now we are storing the changes in the transactional logs. Okay, and these logs are primarily used for backup and disaster recovery purposes, but they can also be used to propagate changes to target systems. Data changes are captured here in near real time. Since target system can read from transaction logs, this method does not impose any computational overhead on your source database. That's the biggest pro for this log based CDC. So you are changing something in your source, and that change is flowing into your transactional log, and using the log miner you are detecting the latest logs and populating and updating your target database respectively. It reduces the overhead on your source database, and all these things are tracked in your transactional logs. If I talk about the pros and cons here, the biggest pros are it does not add computational overhead. Second is it can detect and capture all type of changes to the records. And third is there is no need to change the schema of the source databases. And if I talk about cons, there is not standardization around the format of transactional logs. This means that each vendor opts to implement their own method, which could change in future releases. Okay, and second con is target systems have to identify and eliminate any changes that were written to the source database but then rolled back. So if you are rolling back something, it become a con in the log based CDC.